Hello, everybody, and welcome into Commodity Culture, where our goal is to make you a better investor in the commodities sector. My name is Jesse Day. Today is June 9th, 2026. And before we dive in, today's standard disclaimer: nothing here is investment advice. Do your own due diligence. And my guests today are the COO and CEO of EMP Metals, a Canadian-based lithium exploration and development company focused on large-scale resources using direct lithium extraction. It's Paul Schubach and Karl Kottmeier. Great to have you both on the program.
Thanks, Jesse.
Well, I want to start things off by discussing the lithium market and the main catalyst that you currently see driving it, and what the supply-demand dynamics look like as we sit here today. Karl, I'll go to you for this one.
Yeah, thanks, Jesse. You've seen a very strong return in the price of lithium out of China in the past year or so, which is obviously a welcome from our perspective. And really, what's driving that is global EV use and energy storage. So you've got tremendous demands now, and people understand that the lithium supply is just not there. So prices have really taken a big swing to the upside, which we are certainly happy with.
Well, let's touch on that because, as you mentioned, the lithium carbonate price having quite a run over the past year, up approximately 170% year over year. Now, still a far ways away from the highs in 2022, but it appears there could be plenty of upside ahead. Would you agree with that? What are your thoughts on the recent price action? Do you think there's a point where we ever make it back to those old highs?
I'm not sure that we'll make it back to the crazy heights, but I think you're definitely going to see plus 20,000 a ton here going forward for the long term. EV demand and energy storage are just enormous drivers of this, and you're looking at 12% annual growth through 2035 is basically what most reasonable prognosticators are thinking. And it's difficult to bring big lithium projects online. And so, from our perspective, DLE is a tremendous new way to source lithium. So, and it's new tech. So we think this is going to be a tremendous way to access the market.
You mentioned both EV as well as grid storage. I want to read a quote from Oregon Group. It says grid scale storage systems built with lithium iron phosphate batteries are now lithium's fastest growing demand sector. Could you walk us through this new dominant source of lithium demand and how you expect battery storage systems to evolve moving forward?
Battery storage is really the only solution for low carbon power storage. It's the only way that works. You have to, if you create it and you don't consume it, you obviously need to store it. Lithium is the one-stop shop for providing that storage system. And as far as, when we look at companies like Albemarle and so on, big producers out of the United States, they're doubling again to 3.7 million tons by 2030. And, the consensus from lithium analysts is that you're looking at 2 to 3x of 2024 levels. So, that's a tremendous driver for consumption alone.
Absolutely. Paul, I'll turn to you now. I want to discuss how governments are starting to prioritize lithium as a strategic asset. We've got the U.S. administration, of course, taking a direct stake in Lithium Americas, launching Project Volt to stockpile critical minerals, including lithium, Australia launching a critical minerals reserve. China, of course, has been dominating the lithium market for a while now. Do you see these moves from the West potentially creating a new paradigm for the lithium market? And have you found government support for the industry in Canada to also be on the rise?
Yeah, I do think Canada is prioritizing critical minerals. And again, there's a number of funding opportunities that are available to project developers today that are really supporting an underlying critical minerals strategy. This is, again, both federal and provincially. EMP, we have been fortunate to receive recently, been approved for a number of government funding opportunities to help with both general project development as well as we move to future production scale up. So provincial grants, again, we've been approved by both the BC government and the Saskatchewan government, as well as some federal grants through Natural Resource Canada and Next Gen Manufacturing that are supporting our demonstration facility that's currently in construction. And then again, other funding opportunities do continue to exist for next phase of our company when we start to look at commercial scaling opportunities as well.
Well, I think that's a great segue into discussing how EMP Metals fits into the lithium market picture. Why don't you start by giving us an overview of the company and your game plan for playing a role in the lithium market, Paul?
Yeah, so as EMP, we've been rapidly moving through initial exploration, resource delineation, technology piloting. And today, again, we're aggressively advancing our demonstration plant with our Canadian-based project partner, Saltworks Technologies. In that demo plant, we're deploying some new, highly innovative process flow sheet improvements that really look to improve cost structures as well as recovery rates from traditional based DLE flow sheets. The plant will be direct wellhead connected, continuous flow through all of our process steps, highly automated, and also will be generating long-term operations data, which ultimately will feed into more cost certainty around CapEx, OpEx, as we gear up for our first of its kind commercial facility. We view in total EMP playing a key role in helping catalyze this new industry in Saskatchewan, and will ultimately provide economic benefit to the entire country.
Well, let's talk about your path to commercial production. Could you walk us through that plan and give us a rough estimate on when you could actually start producing lithium at a commercial scale?
Yeah, to maybe just take a step back here. So we are working through phase one today, which is our demo plant. This project is called Project Aurora, again, in partnership with Saltworks Technologies, a BC-based company. They're an industrial equipment and technology supplier for our on-surface refining solutions. We've got 12 to 18 months planned of operations at this facility, with startup scheduled for late Q3, early Q4 of this year. In parallel with those plant operations, we are accelerating our detailed engineering work for both on-surface as well as subsurface to be in a position to make a final investment decision on our first commercial facility, which is, again, our phase two of our development strategy, by the end of 2026. So if financing becomes successful, we could begin permitting and awarding contracts as early as Q1 of 2027. And then we do anticipate about a 2-year turnaround before we would have a facility established and begin commissioning and startup. That 2-year commercial project timeline is really built on a foundation of a hub and spoke based model, which is very common in oil and gas, where we look at smaller initial production facilities versus some of the mega, $2 billion plus projects that you see being proposed throughout North America. And this really lends itself to the resource we have here in Saskatchewan and the clean brine characteristics that allow us to get to cash flow at a significantly smaller CapEx requirement.
Well, let's discuss the team behind EMP Metals and how you plan to leverage their expertise to advance to production. Let's start with yourself, Karl, your own background in the industry, and then maybe you could shed some light on the rest of the team. And then, Paul, I'll have you talk about your background as well.
Initially, Jesse, I started out in corporate finance on the retail brokerage side, and then moved over to running and financing public companies. I've had the good fortune of working all around the world, and now landing in Saskatchewan, which is literally the best place for exploration and development on the resource side that I've ever experienced. So we're very fortunate to be in Saskatchewan. I'm very fortunate also to have a tremendous team with me, that we took this from exploration discovery all the way now through into production. And it's exciting because we're a small and very nimble team. We've got some tremendous support out of one very large fund out of London, who've been there with us all the way through. And we've got some of the top people working in Saskatchewan, formerly in the oil and gas field, now developing this brand new resource, this brand new industry in the province of Saskatchewan. And as a result, we've seen the best support from government I've ever experienced. So we're very fortunate on that side of things, but also we partner with Saltworks, and Saltworks has been nothing but fantastic with us. They see the opportunity, and they've pushed really aggressively and supported us all the way through. So it's a series of great people, great location, and quite frankly, some good fortune. So we're really pleased with where we are and where we're going.
Great. And Paul, could you shed some light on your own background and how you came to be COO of EMP Metals?
Yeah, so I started my career in the mining industry. I worked out on site at one of the world's largest potash solution mines. Again, just talking about the rich mining history we have here in Saskatchewan, potash being one of them. So spent a number of years out at that facility working through a variety of roles, capital projects, process engineering through a number of different aspects of the refinery, as well as a little bit in maintenance and reliability. So bringing, over a decade of mining experience, which is very similar in nature when we look at potash solution mining and mineral extraction from brines, and bringing that experience here into this new and exciting lithium industry.
Fantastic. Well, I want to talk about cash on the balance sheet because the company recently closed a private placement, raising $3 million. How much cash in hand do you have in total right now? How much runway does that give you? And what are the plans to raise more capital as needed moving forward, Karl?
Yeah, great question. So right now the company has around 4 million in cash. We're fully financed all the way through our development operations here that are going to take us into September. We've also started working on the backgrounding and planning on how we go forward into offtake financing, which is obviously a big step, big dollars. So that's very much underway right now, but we don't anticipate any dilution in the next 3-6 months. So and again, as I say, the next step will be full project scale financing, which is a completely different animal.
And one follow-up I wanted to pull on a thread regarding this whole discussion around going into commercial production. What is it that drove the decision for you to go? You mentioned you went through the exploration phase, development in, and now a plan for production. What made you go through that decision process as opposed to targeting getting acquired by a major?
I think we've come out of what we call the lithium winter of complete price compression. You now see that people are starting to take a look around and say, okay, what's out there? What projects are in what stage of development? And expecting that somebody's going to come and just buy you magically, particularly having come out of that really protracted down period, is unrealistic. In this business, you always have to be advancing your own project, and we are solely focused on this project. We have nothing else to do. We have one project. So that's our mantra in this company is let's get this thing forward into production. And quite frankly, as Paul was saying, given the hub and spoke type model, you're not looking at an enormous capex out of the gate. It's bite-sized pieces that will then you can then leverage the cash flow of production into the further development. So it's a very smart model that we're working on, we believe, and it's going to give potential purchasers the ability to see what we're doing, gauge it, and know that they don't have to come in with a $2 billion decision. They can get involved with us at a far reduced price point and really see some success early on.
Well, Paul, I'll turn to you now. Any upcoming catalysts, news flow coming out of EMP Metals for the remainder of 2026 that you think investors should be focused on?
Yeah, a few main topics for sure to keep watch on for the second half of 26. Obviously, our phase 1 demo plant, as we complete construction, finish commissioning, and begin operating that plant. You can expect some announcements too around our detailed engineering work for phase 2 commercial facility, and really tying in the demo plant operations data. This ultimately is going to showcase all the innovation that we're applying, de-risk the commercial scale up further, improve cost certainty, and ultimately produce updated project economics. And then, as Karl mentioned, financing initiatives for phase 2, as well as talking about, discussions on resource expansion, either through using or through future drilling expansion as well. So.
Great. Well, I'll end with you, Karl. I'll open the floor to you. Is there anything we haven't yet discussed, anything you think it's important to emphasize on EMP Metals that potential shareholders of the company should be considering?
I think the number one thing that people looking at this company should take very much into mind is that Canada for lithium is a completely almost unknown entity, and Saskatchewan has provided us with a tremendous backstop. They're supportive, they're engaged, everything we want, we get, within reason, obviously, but we've had amazing support from the Saskatchewan government. They see this as a whole new opportunity, a whole new industry, not only for Saskatchewan and for Canada itself. And the Canadian federal government is starting to really take a look at critical minerals, and within that, we are in line for a lot of additional non-dilutive financing, which is a tremendous way to advance the company. And for people looking at this, it's like you can't look at this company and not understand that there's a significant re-rate coming to the share price, in my opinion, and in our opinion as a company, largely because of the advancements we've made. Nobody has taken these things this far and without a re-rate, and that comes. And you can look at all of our competitors. Once they get to a certain decision, all of a sudden the market cap is significantly different, and you've got a much more deep pool of investors who are willing to take a look at you.
Fantastic. Well, I'm going to put links in the description below to the EMP Metals website, as well as social media profiles so people can follow along with the company. Karl and Paul, thank you so much for coming on the show. It's been a blast.
Thanks, Jesse. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Commodity Culture is a series on commodities and natural resources. If you would like to see more, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification so you're always up to date with the latest episodes.